lads? How are we doing? It's Spurs Live here, joined obviously by co-host Josh, and we've got a special guest on today, Sonny. How are you all doing? Good to see you. Good to have you all on the stream. How are you guys?
I'm good, mate. Happy to be back on again as co-host. I'm excited for this one. It's a bit of a family derby for me, this one. In-house derby, Spurs United. So if we don't win this, judging by the stats of our previous fixtures against United, we probably won't win this one, but this is a big one for me.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I think I'm a bit nervous because obviously we haven't got the best record against United, and always reminds me of that thing. What did Fergie say? It's just Tottenham, but hopefully
Tottenham, lads.
we can show we're just more than just Tottenham.
I feel like we're all nervous, just like Sonny said. We're all a bit nervous here and there, but I think a smile is on our faces because we know Ange's behind, and Ange's the one taking us into this game. Look, lads, number one, before we start, guys, make sure to subscribe to all our channels as well, Spurs Live and Sonny Talk Sport. Sorry, Sonny, I have to get this correct. Sonny Talk Spurs.
Yes.
Look, guys, we've got a big match preview to do. It's against United, big boys. First, I want to talk to each of you guys. How do you feel coming into this game? Are you guys, obviously we said we're nervous, but how are you guys feeling knowing that Ange is behind? Josh, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with the performance against Brentford. The result wasn't ideal, but it also wasn't a bad one. I think if you'd have given me a point away to Brentford before we kicked the ball, I probably would have been okay with that. It was more the substance of the game itself that I was interested in rather than the result because, you know, Ange's always had teething problems with every club he's gone to. He always says that it's a rough first couple of months because his philosophy and his sort of tactical insight is so detailed and such a difficult thing for players to pick up. But Brentford was positive for me. Madders, big positive. Basuma, probably the biggest positive of the match for me. I thought he was outstanding. Probably the best player on the pitch. And he'll cause Man United a real problem if Man United play anything like they did in midfield against Wolves. I think it could be a real problem for them. But no, I'm more confident going into this game than I would have been before we kicked the ball this season. I'm much more happy with how things are progressing. Despite the lack of pre-season, I think we're starting to see the makings of a Postecoglou team now.
Love that. I mean, you're giving a lot of hope here. I'm hearing a lot of hope. Individuals as well. Basuma, Josh, Son. What are you thinking coming onto United game? Come on, tell us what's going through your head coming to this United game. Obviously, we're talking about, once again, the big boys. We're not talking about little Brentford here, little Aston Villa here. We're talking about United. Like, they are, in my opinion, going to finish top four. What are you saying about them? How are you feeling?
Well, that's the thing. Going into the first games of the season, I feel like a lot of people undervaluing Tottenham in the sense of, you know, a lot of people, I've seen people's Premier League table predictions. People have got us as low as 10th and 9th, which I think is actually a bit of a disgrace because I feel like we're better than that. Obviously, a lot of people are doing that based on Harry Kane leaving. What I liked about the Brentford game, for example, was I don't think we're going to worry about goals this season. I feel like the goals are going to be perfectly spread around the team. As Josh was saying, that's how Ange plays, very attacking. And we should be doing that. Like under Conte, Mourinho, we did rely on Kane having to get around 20 to 30 goals. Under Ange, it's going to be a lot different because it has to. Whereas for the United game, I watched that against Wolves. I think everyone was very surprised. We didn't expect that performance. Obviously, they got the goal in the end, but you know, Wolves are not a potent side up top. Like they haven't had a natural goal scorer since Jimenez did his head injury, and obviously he's left the club now as well. Yeah. But going into this one, the problem is like we're all nervous because it is Manchester United. They can turn it on in these games. You know, Rashford seems to have always a good game against us. You know, they always seem to turn up. I think personally we're going to have a lot of the ball. I can see it happening. I think we'll have about 60 to 65% possession, and then United will just try and counter-attack us. So there will be a lot of individual battles because it'll be a big game for Basuma because I feel like he'll have actual. Whereas I think Brentford sat back a bit, he'll have to actually compete with the likes of Bruno and Mount to sort of make sure. So I could see maybe Skip, if he plays, dropping deep as well. And then in more of an attacking sense, that could work on the flip side, because I can see them putting Casemiro on Maddison, because we saw like how good was Maddison, his passing range from deep. So there's a lot of good individual battles to really to watch on this one. So I mean, I'm going to the game as well. So first game of the season, I'm going to. I'm lucky in that regard. So I'm excited, but as I was saying, it is Manchester United. It's just, you can never write them off.
100%. I mean, when you go into the game, personally, I feel like no matter what position we are in, we always struggle against United. We always have a tough game. Obviously, you have the odd one out with when Jose was the manager, we scored a little 6 past them. But now it feels a bit different now. And look, I'm gonna put this out to anyone who wants to go for it. We got a good team. I'm gonna be honest. We got a good team. We got a strong team. Let's have some positivity. We got some strong team. I mean, individually, yes, we do not beat Man United individually, but we do put up a good competition. The likes of that midfield, though, I want to talk about that midfield, because I feel like that's going to be the key for this game. If we can keep the ball, play passes here and there, and then go at it in the wings, I think we got an opportunity. We got a chance. So anyone, what is the midfield you want to see against United? Because I think Bissouma has to be in there, but and James Maddison. But it's the question of, do you want to play a more defensive team with Skippy coming back a little bit, or do you feel like you have to go in there with Sarr, have a little bit of more of a body there, or do you go more tactical and you play Lo Celso in there? You got different players in there. Who are you starting?
Go on, Josh, you could take that one.
Yeah, I mean, like Sonny said, this game is almost a bit of a tactical-wise, a bit of a perfect storm. Both teams play a similar. You can tell United were trying to play a similar philosophy to Spurs in terms of Mount and Bruno were so high up the pitch. They weren't even acting as 8s. They were borderline 10s on either side of Rashford through the middle. They had such a high press, but the difference was that they didn't sort of invert the fullbacks properly, which just left massive gaps in the midfield for Casemiro to deal with. And I don't think he could do it by himself. Like Sonny was saying, Cunha, he's not a particularly prolific player for Wolves, but he was a lot of people's man of the match on the night because he just had such space to run into every time he got the ball near the halfway line. He was absolutely terrifying Man United defenders with the space he had, and in the midfield battle, I think it's who can best use that space. Obviously, Maddison's a lock because he's easily our most creative player. His passing range is unbelievable, and his close control is just fabulous. It's rare to see a player with such good on-the-ball abilities with their feet, but also to be able to pass the ball that well. Bissouma, obviously, again, has to play. His press resistance against the likes of Mount and Bruno, who are going to be pushing high up the field, is going to be important. I don't think a player like Højbjerg can do that sort of role. I think Skippy will struggle with that role. They're both not press resistant enough. They're a bit static on the ball. Both have their uses, but in terms of this sort of game, I don't think there'll be a use. Sarr's an interesting shout for me. Obviously, he has that physical edge. And he's also, I think he's a bit underrated going forward in terms of he's so creative with his shot-taking abilities. He's not afraid to let it fly. He's physical. He's much more physical than Skip because of his height, which adds a bit of a different dimension to the team. But I'm not sure Ange is going to throw him into that sort of big game yet. Especially United. You know, we weirdly have this dominance over the other side of Manchester with City. They can't even score a goal at the new ground. But United are one of two teams. I think Liverpool's the other side that have yet to lose there. So I think tensions are going to be high. It's the first home game. But I think Maddison has to play because of the high press. And I'd probably opt for Sarr just for that physicality. I think Mason Mount was a bit of a passenger last game. And I think from what he did show, he could be quite easily bullied on the ball at the minute. He seems a bit nervous. And I think he can do that properly. But I think he might opt for Skip again.
Fantastic. Sonny, who are you saying is in the midfield?
I mean, I feel like I kind of agree with Josh there. I was going to talk about maybe a different area of the pitch. I'm thinking the fullbacks. You know, I think Josh highlighted there the inverted fullbacks. I think Destiny Udogie had a brilliant game. So obviously he has to start. And although he scored, I'm questioning Emerson. I'm wondering how Emerson would actually handle. You know, we saw how Brian Mbueno and Johan Visser sort of countered us pretty well with their pace last week, especially because Ange plays with that high line, hence why we brought in the pace of Mickey van der Ven at the back. So it would be interesting who we play at right back, because do we play Emerson, he's probably the better defensive-wise, but he can be questionable pace-wise, or do we chuck in Pedro Porro, who obviously adds a more attacking threat? He is quicker, but is he as defensively sound? So that's what's quite interesting as well. As a midfield, I mean, I think Skippy had an all right game against Brentford. Sarr, obviously, he had a good preseason as well, and I've tipped him to be one of our breakout stars this season. I think he's really going to shine under Ange, which is why I'm so happy he's our manager. But I think I'll just go with Skip. I think he would be happy with a similar lineup to what was against Brentford. I still think, as I say, that fullback will be the question mark. Emerson will probably start, and obviously getting a goal does help, even though I think it was the lowest XG shot of the weekend. I think I saw, but I don't want to question Ange too much this early on, because he seems to be turning water into wine.
Yeah. No, look, I agree with you guys there when you talk about the fullbacks. When you talk about fullbacks, I think you're talking about midfielders as well. When you talk about fullbacks, you're basically talking about the midfield, because they're inverted, so they're practically midfielders. I think, in my opinion, I would go straightforward. I would go for Sarr to start, but then depends who the fullback is. We're taking, right back. If we're talking about Emerson Royale is our fullback, right back, I'm starting Sarr. Because I know that defensively I'm okay. I got Emerson there, but attacking wise, I need a little bit of a boost. So I'm starting Sarr. If we're saying Porro is the right back, I'm questioning the lack of defense there, which means I'm gonna keep Skip back a little bit, but because I know he can make that run. He can make that run into the box like Ange has been making him do. Now, look, if you're talking about the fullbacks already, I think we should start with that left back position. I want to talk about Destiny Udogie. Obviously, Josh is very, very, very happy with Destiny. I know we've spoken to match reaction. We talk about transfer updates, and we talk about Destiny Udogie. Sonny, I want to get your opinion on Destiny Udogie, and because I have a little bit of a different point of view. And Josh, you haven't heard me say this yet, because I've just thought about it about 2 hours before the stream. But I was looking at a little bit of the highlights, and I was like, sure, he's getting the ball, but I want to see a bit more. I want to see a bit more of those runs. Like there was a run that he made where he cut in all the way to the right, and he got in a cross. Fortunately, it wasn't a good one, but I like those. I want to see a bit more of Destiny. Sonny, what do you think about Destiny Udogie? Obviously, he had a great start. Do you want to see a bit more of him? Do you think he needs to add something in a more attacking area, or do you think he needs to be dropped back a little bit?
I mean, he was obviously one of the best attacking fullbacks in Serie A last season. He obviously is also more comfortable as a wing back, because many people were questioning him being in the squad. Like they obviously knew his talent, but when you looked at our left back roster, there was a lot of question marks, because obviously Ryan Sessegnon, the jury's out about him. Sergio Reguilon, we're not sure if he's really going to stay, and he's probably our only natural left back. And then you've obviously got Destiny Udogie, who I've said is a wing back. So I feel like he was probably going to be of a more attacking output in that game, but maybe because of the injuries to Christian Romero, it might have restricted him, because, I mean, I don't know how much you've heard about me going on about Davinson Sanchez, but I don't really trust the fella, honestly. He has looked better, I guess, since the Barcelona game, but I've still, I still haven't forgiven him for the goal against Manchester City where he sort of face planted against Gundogan, but don't. I've got you PTSD there, guys. But yeah, I think Destiny is going to show some attacking outlet, as you said as well, other Josh. There is a very good, these wing backs or fullbacks are going to be like centre mids, so they've got to contribute to some goals and assists in the games. And Destiny is probably going to be our best attacker on that left hand side. I feel like you can't really play him and Pedro Porro though. I feel like that is asking to be counter-attacks, and teams would rip that apart. But you have a squad for a reason. You need depth. I trust Destiny. He's a good young player. I'm glad. Part of me questions why we sent him back on loan last season, but it's hard to question these decisions because he might have not been the player we've got today. So, but I'm hopeful. I assume he's going to start. So yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Josh, what do you think about Destiny?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Listen, I thought, again, like Sonny said, that Brentford were going to give us the ball quite happily. That they clearly didn't want to be on the ball. They clearly wanted to sit back and break, which is obvious. They haven't got that outlet of Tony. So really going into those wide areas is their only outlet. But United are almost, I think, going to play quite a similar game to that. I think they're idiots if they don't play Rashford on the left. If they play him centrally again, I think that's such a waste. I think their main outlet in this game is going to be out wide with Anthony and Rashford if they choose to do so. I don't know who they'll play up front if they do that, but I think that's their main way out. But I like Udogie against Anthony. Anthony's not a physical presence like Mbeumo is. He's not going to fight as hard on the ball. I don't think Anthony's quite as bad as people make him out to be. Like people say, it acts as if he's absolutely woeful. He's not woeful, but he is very one-footed. He telegraphs what he's going to do a lot. He telegraphs that cut inside well, and not like Iron Robin used to. It's much more limited than that. So it'd be a different type of winger for Udogie to deal with, but I think he'll be just as comfortable in that aspect. But at the same time, when you look at your opposite fullback, you're asking Josh for him to go on those sort of marauding, overlapping runs and those little inverted runs. But if he comes up against Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it'll be interesting to see that battle because we know at the minute Heung-Min-Son's role as a winger in Ange's system is those one-on-ones, but he's just not comfortable with them at the minute. I don't know whether that's because of Sonny's injury holding him back or whether that's just passed him by a little bit. I know I talked about on the stream yesterday that, with Sonny's age, you are going to see him lose that extra yard or two and that sort of willingness to just try and blitz past the player. So it'd be interesting to see if Udogie takes that burden on. But I don't see any reason to put Ben Davies in. And like Sonny said, Reguilon looks like he's heading out the club. No point in giving him minutes. And Sessegnon, I'm not even sure if we registered him for this season. I don't see a point. Like Reece James, for a much worse player, the bloke is always injured. I've never seen him play more than 3-4 games in a row, which is sad, really, because he's such a talented player. But he was almost Udogie before Udogie, but it just hasn't happened for him.
I mean, we can't talk about the defenders and not talk about the attackers. I mean, Udogie, quickly, I just want to say about Udogie. Number one, I agree with both of you here. You can't play two attacking fullbacks, in my opinion. You can't play Udogie and you can't play Porter together. But what Udogie does offer is that the physicality that Porto doesn't really offer. I mean, he doesn't offer as much as Udogie does. Sorry, I should say it. Now, if we talk about attackers, I'm trying to think how I line up this question. You got Sonny and you got Richie. Goals. We could say goals. Now, I'm really trying. I'm struggling here to find this question out. Do you start Sonny up front or do you start Richie up front? That is basically the question.
What, through the middle?
And then we'll follow up a question. Yeah. Through the middle as a striker position.
I've seen a few people say maybe we put some through the middle and start Perisic on the left. Because, I mean, considering I thought he was going to leave the club in the summer because there was more links with Inter Milan and some other moves at that. But then he did play a few games in pre-season. And although I don't think he personally did too much to impress me. He did offer some, wing play and some good crosses and stuff like that. But I'm not sure if he's got the legs to play as a winger, starting winger. I feel like he's good as an off the bench option. And obviously, I don't think he can play left back either. Because I literally forgot to mention him when I was listing left backs and Ben Davies as well. But I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to see some through the middle. I feel like I do think personally, a lot of people were very reactive to Richarlison in that first game. It's the first game of the Premier League season. We're still finding our feet. This is the guy who did not play many games starting in pre-season due to Harry Kane leading the line before he transferred to Bayern Munich. He played a couple of halves. He played a game where he got a hat-trick against Lion City Sailors, who, obviously we can't take too much into consideration from that. So I still think for this, and a lot of people are questioning Kulusevski as well going into this game. So I think for this game, we should at least go with the same front three, see what they can do. You know, Richarlison might bag one or two. We don't know. I think we've still got to persist with him because at the moment, we're not being linked with many concrete forward replacements for Harry Kane. We've seen news about Gift Orban, but that seems to have hit a stuttering point. I mean, we've seen news about Lautaro Martinez as well, but I don't believe that at all. So personally, I think we should go with the same team. Obviously, Son's the captain now, so you hope that he's a bit G'd on by that. And Kulusevski, personally, I mean, I'd have thought about this week, and I've only said it to a few people. I would be keen in some point this season to maybe see him in the 8 role because personally, I don't think he's got the pace for a winger. He's a great dribbler. He's sort of not on the same caliber, but he reminds me of Kevin De Bruyne in the way he strides on the ball and dribbles and sort of cuts in. I feel like that's quite De Bruyne-esque. And Kevin De Bruyne hasn't been known for pace, but he did sometimes play out wide. So maybe to see him in the 8 role would be interesting as well, especially when we maybe want to rotate some weeks, especially during the heavy Christmas period. But then again, who do you play right wing? You could play Pedro Porro there. So, I mean, this is, I sound like I'm becoming one of those Twitter analysis guys now. But it's just interesting because Ange is so flexible when it comes to formations and systems. It is enjoyable to talk about Tottenham now like this. Whereas with Conte, you just knew it was 5 at the back and we were just going to do the same old crap.
Yeah. Josh, what do you think? What's up front for you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Sonny obviously has to start as captain now, and I'm like Sonny said, I'm hoping that the captaincy will give him a boost. The home game, the first home game, the home fans will give him a bit of a boost as well. And I think as the season goes on, he'll get his confidence back and he'll find his feet a little bit more. Historically, Sonny's always risen to the sort of main man. That main character syndrome. When Kane's not been around, Sonny has stepped up. You know, everyone remembers him running over to the camera, screaming down, "Do you know who I am?" Pep Guardiola during that Champions League game. So I do believe in Sonny. Richie, it does worry me about Richarlison in terms of I don't know if he'll quite get the service at the beginning, and I think he'll take a lot of criticism because of that. I think whilst we'll learn the system, we haven't got the best crosses of the ball at the minute, especially as well. So those wingers are supposed to be able to take their one-on-ones and drill those crosses in. Sonny's not been particularly precise with his crossing recently. He's put some in some good areas, but he's not exactly the best. And Kulu, I've been quite critical of Kulusevski recently. I think he's like Sonny. He tends to overhit. He's always had this really weird sort of cross/shot. You can never tell which one it is, but it always ends up being, in his first season, it always ended up being a decent one of either. It always went either top bins or someone would just get a flick on it. But he seems to have lost it a little bit in the minute. But I agree with Sonia. I'd like to see him in that 8 role because he's always, Kulusevski said in those little podcasts that he's done before that he does see himself quite naturally as a 10 rather than a winger. And he does have this weird dribbling technique that I just don't. I've never really seen it before. Because he's so physical and strong for a winger, it's ridiculous. I've never seen anyone like it. He's not quick, but he literally just shoves people off. And once he's past them, he can just lower his body. They can't touch him once he's passed. But I would like to see him in that 8. I think we'd have one of the most press-resistant, untouchable midfields in the league if he actually did adapt to an 8. You know, Basuma, Kulu, and Maddison would be a joke. And then you add Bentancur into that. It's mental.
And it takes the pressure off Bentancur as well, doesn't it? Sorry to interject there. Because, like, a lot of people, when they see these injuries, are like, what happens if he's not the same player? But you never know. And, like, maybe we'll have to sort of redevelop. Because also, I don't expect when he is match fit him to be just chucked in at the deep end. Because that would be, especially in a new system, we probably won't see a proper like the midfield of Bentancur, Maddison, and Basuma until probably next season, like properly. I'm talking week in, week out.
It's beautiful that you guys are doing the job for me because that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. The Bentancur. I mean, look, without Bentancur, let's be honest. I mean, beside Bentancur, we're talking about a really good midfield. We really are. We're talking about Basuma. Fantastic so far. Let's not get our hopes up, but so far he's been Brighton. Basuma, Maddison, he's like he's here for like 5 years already. And then we got Sarr, who's an exciting youngster. Or we got Skippy, but I'd like Sarr. So now we add Bentancur in. But I think what's important to look at this team, and we're saying, all right, Kulu, except for maybe Sonny, because I mean, maybe except for Kulu, everyone there, or Romero, everyone there has to fight his position because the players there will snatch up easily. I mean, we're talking about that right winger, maybe spot, maybe Poro's not ready yet for that right winger, and then obviously Romero, he's
I think that's such a weird shout, by the way. I don't know what you guys think about this Porro right wing shout that people keep going on about. I think it's such a strange shout. I get why people argue it because his crossing ability is fantastic, and in the final third, he's much better than the defending third. But I really don't see.
Maybe a right mid, not a winger.
I understand more right mid because it's similar to his wing back role at Sporting, but I just don't get this right wing shout. I really don't.
I don't like it, the fact that we are 2 games in and we're already trying to move players out of their position. I feel like we need to give them what's the whole Richarlison people saying is that you need to give them at least 6-7 games starting. Give him some time to start. I think that's what we need to do with this team. We need to give these players a run of games for them to actually get used to. I mean, look at Van de Ven right now. Van de Ven looks fantastic, yeah? In my opinion, I think he had a fantastic, brilliant game against Brentford. But think about what he's like if he has 7 games of just starting and he's used to this team. I'm ready to say, not ready right now, but I'm going to be ready to say that we got a back 4, which is basically okay. I mean, we've got. And look, it's a shout, not just yet, but in about 6, 7, 8 games, we've got a decent back 4. The only position in this team that I'm very not convinced about is that goalkeeper position. Now, I want to talk to you just before we get onto that goalkeeper position. Sonia, I have seen your videos, by the way, regarding that position. I want to talk about one question regarding the United game, and is that where is the goals going to come from? I'm fed up with this whole Richie's trying to score, but he's not scoring. I'm fed up with it because just score. I mean, mate, you're 2 yards out. You're like Reguilon back in 2020 or 2021, where he was literally, you could give him right in front of the goal and he would just somehow miss it. He's like Morata. I mean, where does the goals come from for Tottenham? Anyone? Where?
I mean, I saw Match of the Day did a brilliant feature on Richarlison and Maddison, and you can see the link up is there. Like, Richarlison is trying to make these runs and Maddison is trying to find him. So you can see there. The difference is there was a great opportunity in the second half where Richarlison's played in. You probably might remember this. And he goes for like a finesse shot sort of round the keeper's left, but he's right. Harry Kane would have stuck it left because there was this whole space in that side. And you're just like, that's the difference between a world-class striker and someone just under that, because you know where the goal is and you know where you want to hit it. Like, don't get me wrong, that does look like the better goal, but at the end of the day, a goal's a goal, goes between the sticks. You get it. So I am still confident that Richarlison can come good. I still feel that he's got the tenaciousness to lead the line in an Ange system, because that's sort of what he expects from his forwards. And the current striking situation at Spurs means that we have to rely on him, because at the moment, Son playing through the middle, I think, is a lot to ask of him at the moment. And we've not really got anyone else to fit those winger positions. And then after that, you've got Alejo Valise, who Ange has even admitted he's not really ready to be chucked in the
play
team
in 2023.
Yeah.
And then he's not going to loan out Dane Scarlett because of that reason as well. And I still think Dane Scarlett is not ready because he's still 19 and he's very young. Yeah. So it is really interesting. As for goals in this game, we're probably going to have to spread them around the team. We're really going to have to do that. And hopefully our midfield and Son bag, because I mean, United, we've seen with Rashford, he sort of struggled in that game with a similar sort of thing. It's a lot of some of these forwards and strikers who are in that lower bracket, like under the Haalands and people like that. It's the decision making. That's what it is. It's deciding to cut in instead of shooting. Whereas, these world class strikers, they're thinking before the ball's even been played by a Maddison. So it's going to be interesting. So hopefully we get a few.
100%. Josh, your thoughts on the goals? Where's it come from?
Ultimately, I hate to say it, but it's it's going to have to be a bit like Arsenal last season. The goals are absolutely going to have to get shared. We're not going to have two like Sonny and Kane getting 20 plus each anymore. It's going to have to be multiple players getting 10 to 15. Maddison, I back to get 10 goals, 10 assists. I think he can do it. I think he's got the quality to do it, and I think he's got the players around him, and the system is such a perfect fit for him that he can do it. Richie, I do back, but like I agree with Sonny. I think his decision making in front of goal, he's a bit erratic at times. I don't think he properly thinks about his finishes or plans them. I think he's a bit more of a, and we've seen it for Brazil. Sometimes that player being sort of irrational and creative can come off fantastic when you hit those incredible overhead kicks or some of the little interchanges he did for Brazil. But in the Premier League, it's not like in the level of Premier League football is higher than international football, and you're not going to get that extra yard or that extra half a second to think. Yeah, it's touch bang, and that's what Harry Kane was so good at, and that's why we might miss him a lot to begin with, because we haven't really got someone that has that same clinical cutthroat nature. But I think it's going to be a lot of players stepping up. But two defenders scored at least, so the goals are already being shared about, not from the players that we thought were going to be there, but. Have we heard yet? I know obviously Andrew's press conference hasn't happened yet, but Christian Romero with his head injury, it'd be interesting to see where he's even at, because that is an absolute hammer blow before it even happens if he can't play because of I don't know what the concussion protocols are, but I'm pretty sure Spurs have to sort of submit a lot of forms to the FA and get that approved for him to even come back to training. So
well, I saw I think he was in a picture in training today in terms of the gym, so I don't know if that helps or not. But look. What I am going to say, before we move on to that goalkeeper question, is that we are going to score bang against United. I am so confident of us. I am so confident that we're going to score banger. I'm not saying we're going to win. I'm just saying we're going to score banger. And look, as much as I'm happy that we're going to score banger, I'm happy that Emerson scored a banger. I am, though, questioning the fact that it took Tottenham to score banger to beat Brentford, to draw against Brentford. Yeah, it took Tottenham to score banger. Look, now let's talk about the United Tottenham. Obviously, the goalkeeping position. Look, I know it's first game, but I'm not convinced. I said this from day one. I'm not convinced by Vicario at all. I think it's an absolute howler and disgrace that Tottenham did not go in completely for David Raya. They needed David Raya. I mean, you're gonna sack off in my opinion, one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League in the past 10 years. I mean, you obviously since I've been watching, you're sacking your best goalkeeper, Hugo Lloris, captain of France, well, ex-captain of France, World Cup winner. Would like to have some trophies of Tottenham there, but we don't have any. And you're substituting him with Vicario, who is unfortunately, he's a nobody. Why don't you get David Raya? Sonny, what? Are you convinced with Vicario?
I mean, I did question the decision when it happened. Back and then the whole how it's played out with Arsenal is a bit upsetting in the sense of
gutted.
With the way they were wanted 40 million and now it's a loan with
I think that's such a reflection on Brentford. I have no clue what they were thinking. I don't know who they thought they were going to hold out to come in for Raya.
I think hopefully they give us a deal for Tony in January to make up for it or something like that. But the thing is, looking forward, because we're in this situation now, we have to move on for it. I am back in the game. I did think he was shaky at the start. The passing around the back, I believe, was shaky to start. And I'll be honest, I think people sort of did overreact about that performance because I admit he was shaky, but I believe his passing was better than Lloris has ever been for Tottenham. Lloris playing out from the back is like heart in the mouth moments.
Yeah.
And just the way the way he sort of received it off defenders was nervousness, and then he sort of did this weird dribble always up the line, and I always got confused by that. Whereas I feel like we're getting more comfortable playing it around the back with Vicario. It will come with time, especially with a number one. And also with the 2 goals, I don't really think he was at fault. I feel like the penalty's a penalty. You either say them or they go in. That is what it is. But even with the one where I think people were blaming it, I think Mickey van der Ven, it sort of did take a deflection off him and he was wrong-footed. And, that can happen for a goalkeeper. But we've got to back him. I think we've got to give him time. He's young and he's been touted by Gigi Buffon to be the next best thing. So we just got to be patient. And it is quite interesting going into this game, considering that, the opposition have a goalkeeper who is praised, but then slated at the same time. Because I'll be honest, obviously, I think Onana had a great game for United the other day, like saves, wires, and distribution. But then he did absolutely clatter the Wolves striker, and it should have been a penalty. So hopefully a decision like that goes for us this weekend.
Fair enough. Josh, what are your thoughts on the goalkeeping position?
Yeah, I mentioned it yesterday. I think it was a harsh reaction. I think the David Ryan to Arsenal news really stoked the flames on the fire. That really was the worst thing probably that could have happened for Vicario, is that transfer happening. It's the last thing he needed. At a time where I think the fans have been pretty unanimously supportive of the team and the new signings. He's the one that everyone's questioned a little bit. And I think my main concern wasn't actually just on the ball. It was him coming back and forth off his line. Obviously, I was at the friendly against Shakhtar, and that was the one sort of downside up to his performance that day that I really was concerned with, was he didn't really seem to know whether he was coming or going a lot of the time. But at the same time, when I think about it more deeply, he's just come from Empoli, one of the worst sides in Serie A last season, a side that sits back a lot. He doesn't really have a lot of space to cover in front of him. He is restricted to his goal line when he's playing for a sort of lower half relegation threatened side like that. And it's a brand new system that he's adapted to himself. It's not just the outfield players that are adapting. He himself is having to adapt to playing with centre-backs and a back line in general that's going to sit on the halfway line the whole time. And it's the communication between him and those centre-backs of, well, where's your space? Where's mine? Outside of my box, where do I have to command? And eventually they'll learn between them when he has to go, when he has to come. And that will become a sort of second nature to him. But I think he was fine. He wasn't disastrous. He wasn't horrific. He didn't throw the ball in his own net, and thank God, I think he had a shot at his near post from either Wissa or Mbeumo that he saved. And Hugo Lloris, every time someone used to shoot at a near post, I used to put my head in my hands before it even got near him.
He literally chucked one in the net last season.
Honestly.
Don't get me wrong. I feel bad saying that because I feel like Hugo's end to the club is a shame, considering that he is a club legend. But the downfall was coming, and maybe we shouldn't have even let him sign that extension. Maybe we should have let him bow out a year before or so.
Yeah,
I agree. But I think Vicario, just give him some time. I think he'll learn the system a lot better. He like Sonny said, he wasn't as bad on the ball as people were making out. He grew into it a little bit. His first touch was a little bit dodgy, but guess what? When you make the big move to one of the bigger clubs in England and it's your first ever touch in your first ever Premier League game, I wonder why he's a little bit nervous. I forgive him for that. I think it was fine. He grew into it a lot better than people give him credit for.
Look, I'll tell you what, guys. Sorry, I do have to disagree with you. I'm not gonna lie. I disagree with you, lads. I mean, look, personally, I'm not saying anything on the player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything on the player. I think the player is what I expected. I'll be completely honest. I thought the player would be like that. Never thought he would be incredible. Obviously, you have to give him time. But I just question the club. I'm questioning. Obviously, you want to go through that data whole driven thing. But I'm saying, mate, just get a Premier League proven keeper ready. But look, you got to give him time after all. And now let's get back to United game. I want to hear everyone's point of views for the United game. Tactical play. We are not. Sonny did say we're going to have a possession. I'm in my head. I'm doing a ping pong. I'm like, we are going to have a lot of the ball, but then we're playing against Casemiro, Bruno, potentially Mount. Are we going to have a Mount on the ball? Yes, we are. No, we're not. I'm thinking, are we or not? But when we do have the ball, where are we going to go to get the goals? Are we going to go to the wingers? Obviously, I said personally, I want them to go through the wingers, via the wingers, and then cross in that way. Or are they going to go through the middle? How are they going to attack the United team. Sonny, I'll come to you first. What way? Yeah, how do you think?
If I was And this week, I would have had them in the media room watching how Wolves were able to carve through that middle, because
Yeah,
people questioned Man United. Like, they said the signing of Mason Mount was good, and it is good, but a midfield of Bruno, Mount, and Casemiro, I can't see many. Who's the one dictating the play and controlling the ball? Because there's players there that are great. They're high caliber. They're very good. Casemiro is your sitter. I think he's more defensive than
Yeah.
a passer like a Basuma. Whereas Mount is probably like Maddison in a way, but also you've got Bruno who's a bit like that. And Bruno wants to be that guy who's sort of getting the assists and the goals and really pushing up. And you saw it, like there was a just gaping hole. Like I think we alluded to earlier, they were like playing with 2 10s at times. And it just makes you think like overload. I think you've just got to overload that midfield. We'll have 3 in there.
Yeah.
Then get your fullbacks in there as well, and you've got 5 in there, sort of congesting it up. Sorry, I'm grabbing the camera there. And just really like going for it and pushing them up and pressing them in. And I think that would work quite well. It's just you've got to be prone to that ball going over the top is the only thing I'd say, because United will want to do that. And especially, I mean, we saw like, I did a preview on my channel today, speaking with Joe Tomlinson, and he was sort of saying how he did realise like United were proper bullied off the ball against Wolves. You know, Martinez had to be pulled off. He was that, being bullied and, beaten to the ball each time. So it'd be interesting to see who they go with at the back, to be fair, because I don't think Lindelof's good enough either. So yeah, I think just congest that midfield. And then, exploit from the wings as well, because, United can be run at as well. It will be interesting because I do still think we'll have, as I said earlier, a lot of the possession, a lot of the ball. It's just going to be interesting what we do with it and if we can carve open Manchester United. And, we showed promise against Barcelona with our B team. I know the game ended 4-2, but we showed against a team like Barcelona, the birthplace of tiki-taka and controlling a game, we could hold our own. So I know it's a preseason game, and I don't know how much you can read into it, but you got to be hopeful. The proof will be in the pudding, and we'll know about by 8:00 on Saturday night how it all goes.
Like I say, Tottenham Hotspur are Hope FC. Josh, come on, where are we going with the goals? Like I said to Sonny, are we going to the wingers or are we going like Wolves did, just bang straight in there? Or we're coming for you.
Yeah, if I'm Ange, I'm telling them to go through the middle. I think it makes the most sense. Like I said, I think Mount has been a little bit. I'm a bit iffy about the signing. I don't know how I feel about it. I think he's been misprofiled a little bit in terms of United fans seem to have told themselves that he can almost do this box-to-box role in a midfield with Casemiro and Bruno. That's not true. He is a runner, and that is definitely true. He does perform a lot of sprints and a lot of pressures, but it's in more of a pressing sense than a defensive sense. He's not going to come back once that ball's got past him necessarily to make the recoveries, to make those interceptions, those tackles. He's not going to do it. It's going to be Casemiro by himself. There's a reason United have been linked with Amrabat, because they really need one of those box-to-box sort of more defensive enforcers that can make those progressive carries up the pitch, control the game a little bit more. Mount's not going to do that for them. So, like Wolves did, you've got to Casemiro is going to be on his own. Once you break that initial press from United, like Sonny said, you invert those fullbacks, you press Maddison and whoever you want, Sard, Skippy, whoever high up the pitch. You're basically 5-on-5. And we saw, I agree, Martinez was shaky as well. United backline didn't look too comfortable. And I don't know who's going to play in that game. But I think definitely through the middle is the avenue to scoring the goals in this game.
No, fantastic. I think both of you agree with each other, down the middle. And I'm gonna agree with you guys at the end of the day. Look, I think down the middle is the way to go, but the wingers should not be not existent. I mean, they need to be helping. I would even say we come in with the wingers. I would say we come in with the wingers as well. I say we all go through down the middle, not have anyone on the wingers. I mean, look, if we offload everyone down the straight, we just go for Nana. But look, lads, no. On a serious note, we do have a tough game against United. And on a defensive point of view, I'm quickly going to say that I think Van de Ven needs to be on point there. Van de Ven really needs to be on point. And most importantly, and this is hoping that Romero is playing, he needs to help Emerson down that Rashford. He needs to help Emerson there, because I'll tell you what, Rashford is going to just absolutely smash us down that wing if Emerson does not help cover.
It's going to be a lot of individual duels in this game. I feel like for United, it's going to be a lot.
And when we come to do that at match reaction, we're going to either say, Emerson, you've absolutely smashed it today, or we're going to be absolutely gutted with Emerson. Because look, if I'm completely honest, I think it's Rashford who is the main threat for United, and then you've got a Bruno Fernandes assist. That's literally how I see it. Unfortunately, it is, because the odd Casemiro shot in there, you're going to get, but I'm hoping Bissouma is going to block that. The odd, Anthony shot you got in there, I'm hoping Destiny Dogu will deal that. But the Bruno assist, he'll come on the left, he'll come on the right, he'll come straight in front of you. He will get that assist somehow. And it's up to Bissouma, it's up to the midfield, Maddison, it's up to Sarr/Skip, Van de Ven to defend that, and then it's left up to Romero and Emerson to defend that Rashford. But lads, to end this stream, I'm quickly going to ask you guys your score predictions for this match, and I Sonny's got a little bit of a. I'm hoping it's a good score from Sonny, and obviously Josh, I'm hoping we got some nice scores here. Because for myself, I'll go first. We're going to go for a 2-1 win. Sorry. I'm going to go for a 3-2 win over United. Look, I think there's going to be a lot of goals. Honestly, I think there's going to be a lot of goals. And Hope FC, we're coming. Go for it. Whoever wants to go for it.
Go on, Josh.
I don't want to be like that negative guy, because I feel like every time we come to do this, I'm always like, oh, but this or but that, and I think a lot of it depends on how United line up. If I see that match, that sort of lineup, and Rashford's on the left, I'm going to be a hell of a lot more worried than if he's going through the middle, because I think he can be a bit blunt when he plays up front. It's clearly not his natural or favoured position, but I think it's going to be an open game. I think it would definitely be the most entertaining United Spurs fixture we've had in years. Definitely since that sort of 6-1 trouncing at Old Trafford.
Sorry, how much was it? I forgot to hear. How much?
Big six.
6-1, yeah. Sorry, the one that Tango and Ndombele scored, right? Just to confirm that.
Yeah, come on, mate. Yeah. Please don't mention him. I'm sensitive about Tanguy at the moment. I'm really upset about him. No, I'm gonna go. I think it'll be an open game. I think we're going to do it. I think United are one of the only two teams, them and Liverpool, to not lose. I think that's going to change. I'm going to go for a 3-1. A 3-1.
3-1 Tottenham, right?
3-1 Spurs. I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs, and it's going to be probably the most positive prediction you're going to get from me.
All right. Why do I feel like Sonny's going to give us like a 6-0 United? Why do I feel that? Sonny, what's your score predictions?
I'm going to get some splinters because I'm going to sit on the fence. I think we're going to draw. I feel like, this United team, it's still... They did this last season, didn't they? They did this thing where they did start off slow. Andy's obviously still finding his feet as well. It's going to be a test. They're a good team. They've got good quality, but so have we. I think 1-1 sort of says it all, really. I could see it playing out this. I think we're going to dominate the ball. Pepper. Go 1-0 up or something, and then they'll just get something on the break. And it'll be one of those games where you're like, you would have snapped your arm off for a draw, but then at the end you'd be like,
be gutted. Yeah.
But the thing is, this season, just to get this in now, I'm happy to us to have a few results where you go like, but at least we got something out. Like at least we can walk away and go, but that was positive. Oh, but that looked good. Like last week, I think Brentford they're a good team. They are a good team, even without Tony. Thomas Frank is a great manager, and going to theirs is tricky. A lot of teams went there last season and didn't get results. So to come away from that last week going, oh yeah, okay, 2-2 draw. We did leak some goals, but we looked so much better.
Yeah.
And
How
had an
different is
actual
that
identity.
feeling of last week's draw compared to the draw? We got the same result. I think might have been 3-3, or it might have been 2-2 again last year away to Brentford.
We were 2-0 down, weren't we? It was
Yeah, and we managed
first
to
game
come
of the
back.
World
But
Cup.
how different is the feeling after this game compared to that one? It's massive.
Yeah, it just it's that positive vibe that Ange seems to be. And as the weeks go on, they're going to learn. And I just hope we're patient this season. I hope Tottenham fans are patient. I hope Daniel Levy and the board are patient, and the players. It's just good to have that sort of vibe back at Tottenham. We're a long way from getting back to where we want to be, wherever that is. But it's good to just have some positive conversations now, even if Kane has gone.
Very, very much so. Look, I can't lie. I'm looking forward to the game, and we got some hope. Look, lads, we got some hope. It's coming up to the big fixture: Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspur. Or should I say Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United at our home? Josh, any last words before we end the stream?
Just a little reminder, we talked about it yesterday. I'm sure we'll upload a clip on it later this week, just about the protest that's going on before the game on the Saturday. The Stop Exploiting Loyalty is something that, if you guys haven't seen it, go and watch the video from yesterday from the stream. It's something quite close to my heart as a lifelong fan and someone that's been going to games for a long time, and that recently just introduced a new member of my family to Spurs. I don't want them to grow up being priced out of what is a religion for most of us, basically. I think the corporate match going experience being favoured over the lifelong fans is wrong, and it's something that we need to combat now. Otherwise, I think the club is just going to take us a ransom even further.
Exactly. Sonny, any last words, and obviously tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm going to the game as well, so it's interesting to hear about the protests as well, because I'm definitely one of those fans who a bit sick and tired of all this stuff with the club going on at the moment. I've made my thoughts known. I've done a video about how I want the club to be put up for sale. But yeah, Sonny Talk Spurs on YouTube. It's going quite well. Been going for a month now. Done. What's this? My second video on this channel as well. So good to be involved. Good to collab. Yeah, good to collab with both Joshes as well. So hopefully do a lot more as the season goes on.
Definitely.
Love to see that. So, lads, make sure to subscribe to Sonny Talk Sport. Talk Spurs. Flipping hell.
It's because I work for Talk Sport, mate, as well. So everyone, it's a bit of the.
I am telling you, even when you'll be here for like 1,000th video, mate, I'm still gonna call you Sonny Talk Sport. But obviously, yeah, guys, go drop a subscribe there. Obviously, smashing it there. And yeah, so lads, look. Obviously, we're going to have Sonny back on here for a lot more videos because you guys have been enjoying it. And yeah, Josh, obviously co-host of the channel. Absolutely great to have you guys on the channel. Looking forward to the Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United. I keep on saying, Josh, we need to find a good outro for this because I keep on making stuff up my head and the intros, and it's not working out. But lads, have a good one. Yeah, come on, you Spurs. And yeah, let's just end this. Come on, you Spurs.